Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Canal Days, What Life is Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley. As always, I'm your host, Carrie, and joining us today is co-host of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. Our Canal Days series explores historic sites throughout Massachusetts with Robert's expertise of the state's history as our personal guide. Each episode, we discover another historic location or landmark, exploring the significance within. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the First Central Baptist Church of Chicopee, Massachusetts. So, can you recall the first rendition of this church?
It was in 1832, and it was built on the corner of Maple and Belcher Streets. There now is the St. George Church, so that was quite a long time ago. It was almost 200 years ago. There was a Baptist church there. And within a couple of years, it was got a new preacher that would stay for over half a century associated with this church. And his name was Rufus Bellamy. And he would have a son named Edward Bellamy, who would write a famous book called Looking Backward. And so the church was a wood-based church. It was very small, and that's why they would end up moving to a new location. But it's very important to know that it started off in such a location and with such a very famous person, and that family would stay along for other renditions of this church.
And can you explain how that changed for the second rendition of the church?
That church would move then on to Market Street in Chicopee Falls. It would have a better church for itself, a lot larger and somewhat more permanent. Still, the minister would be Rufus Bellamy, with his entire family, including, of course, Edward. And they would move into a home on Church Street that they would stay in for a very long time. And this is the location at which Edward Bellamy, for most of his life, would live. He would live there in his youth, and when he was a teenager, he would go off to college for a few years. He would go to Boston for a couple of years for a job, but he would come back to Church Street in Chicopee and live there, and he would write his famous novel from that home. The home is still there, and is now a house museum. So Rufus Bellamy would be quite popular with his congregation and would preach there. Remember, the Baptist church was a breakaway denominations away from the Congregationalists. So already you're thinking about people that think outside the normal, and his son would think that way too. But again, the church would move.
And we'll be right back after this quick break. Are you fascinated by history and eager to explore the hidden gems of Massachusetts? Or maybe just looking for an enjoyable cultural activity for the family? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Camus. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating public tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, or charming old churches, Robert's tours provide a unique, enriching experience for all. And that's not all. You can also book private tours tailored to your interest, ensuring a personalized and unforgettable adventure. Perfect for families and groups of all sizes, making an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit hoyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214, @yahoo.com to schedule your private tour today. But wait, there's more. Don't miss out on Robert's podcast and video series, Canal Days, where you can dive even deeper into the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. Plus, for those who may not be local or would rather enjoy on the go or from the comfort of their home, Canal Days brings the history right to your screen. So why wait? Discover the past with Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke and make memories that will last a lifetime. And remember to log on to hoyokecanaltour.org for more information today. Welcome back to our Canal Days episode of the First Central Baptist Church of Chicopee, Massachusetts. And the church changed again for a third time. Can you describe the third rendition?
This came around in 1878, so within about 60 years, they went on to a third rendition, and that one's still there, the First Central Baptist Church. It's in a very central location of Chicopee Falls, and it started on Broadway Street, very close back to Belcher Street, for instance. It's one of the easiest locations to find around Chicopee Falls, and it's a gorgeous addition. And so the years 1832, 1850, 1878 play out to be the three important years for each edition of this church. And a plaque and tablature above the front of the church, it says the First Baptist Church, erected 1877. Still, Rufus Bellamy was the pastor, and he would be so into the late 1880s. Still, his son would attend the church. And remember that the son wrote a very original novel, a very famous novel. And you have to think both with kindness towards people and also in a strict sense, but also with concern about the future and be a good writer and intellectual. And his father probably had all those traits to him, and his son probably picked up on those. You, being a Baptist, want to think differently from the Congregationalists, right? And you want to think in a very intellectual way, and yet think about what people need in life. And so this church was the third church. It's the only one left of the three, and it's still a Baptist church even after all these years. And it's always going to be strongly associated with the Bellamy family because of father and son relationship. They went there. And Church Street is near all three of these churches, and that's where the Bellamys lived.
And so what is the architecture of the church and overall?
Okay, so if you look at the old part of the church, and what I mean by that, the back that looks like a rectangle is an addition. It's really a social hall added to the back of the church. The front, which is going to be now much smaller, you might look at it and say, oh, this is a nice big church. That's not the way it was built. When they started building in 1877, it was built the small front, a nice big steeple. But if you look at all the windows, the belfry, the doors, they all have a point to it. And right away, when you think point instead of rounded, you think Gothic. So this is a Gothic revival style church. And it fits very nicely into such a neighborhood. And there used to be very many churches around it. There used to be one across the street from it. And of course, it's still the St. George Street, no more than 200 yards away. So there's a lot of nice features to this church. And of course, you should visit it. And for instance, if you look at the roof, it's a slate roof. If you look at the roof line, it has the dentils you might expect of a Gothic Revival church. And it's in very good condition overall. So I invite you to visit not only the outside, but also the inside. Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in to Canal Days and today's episode on the First Central Baptist Church of Chicopee, and joining us through our journey of the rich history of Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden gems and fascinating stories that shaped our past in the state of Massachusetts. And special thanks to Robert Camus, founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep exploring and discovering the rich history that surrounds us. And thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune into our next episode of Canal Days on the Protestant Churches of Chicopee, Massachusetts. Until next time.